Welcome to Cat and Jess Talk the Best, where we're going to be talking about IMDb's top 250 movies from April 12th, 2018. My name is Kat.
And I'm Jess.
And today we are talking about number 205, Spotlight, from 2015, and it is a crime drama. It has an 8.1 on 360,437 votes. The spoiler-free synopsis: in 2001, editor Marty Barron of the Boston Globe assigns a team of journalists to investigate allegations against John Geoghan,
something like that,
an unfrocked priest accused of molesting more than 80 boys, led by editor Walter Robby Robinson. Reporters Michael Rezendes, Matt Carroll, and Sacha Pfeiffer interview victims and try to unseal sensitive documents. The reporters make it their mission to provide proof of a cover-up of sexual abuse within the Roman Catholic Church.
Alright, so this is directed by Tom McCarthy. He hasn't done much directing, actually. He's done this one, The Visitor, Win-Win, and The Cobbler.
Okay.
Yeah, so not many films. Not many. There's only 7 director credits that he has.
Dang.
So, not that much. And this stars Mark Ruffalo, Michael Keaton, and Rachel McAdams.
Yep.
Those were 3 big ones there.
And we've actually talked about Mark Ruffalo already from Infinity War from our superhero event, and we've talked about Michael Keaton from Batman from our superhero event.
That's very true.
I don't think we've seen Rachel McAdams on the list before yet, though.
Oh, I don't think so.
Ratings. IMDb, 36.4% of users rated this movie at an 8. The 18 to 29 and 45 and up age groups rated this the highest. Metacritic, it has a 93. And on Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 97% off 352 critical reviews. 340 are fresh, 12 are rotten. 2 of the fresh, Zach Schoenfeld. Spotlight manages the seemingly impossible task of wooing journalists with authenticity while still elevating reporters to hero status as they battle a formidable and corrupt institution with righteous determination.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. Michael Phillips. Ruffalo gets top billing in the movie, and he brings some wonderfully lived-in behavioral details to his performance. The quick terrier-like movements of the head and the bitten-off sentences.
Yeah, he does pretty good in this movie.
Yeah. Well, I know that they all literally spent a ton of time with the actual people that they were trying to portray, so they did the best that they could to portray them because they studied the shit out of them.
Good old observations help a lot.
Yeah. So 2 rotten. Jesse Cataldo. By modeling its structure so closely after All the President's Men, Spotlight only draws closer attentions to its lack of scope and ambition. I've never seen All the President's Men that I can remember.
I've only seen pieces of it.
It's another journalist one?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's been a really long time, though, so I can't remember it very well.
That sounds like one of those movies that if I've seen it, it's probably bits and pieces that I've seen.
Yeah.
Jeff Beck. Despite having an important story to tell and a top-notch cast to tell it with, Spotlight is a film that never comes to life thanks to a less than compelling narrative that turns the film into a bit of a slog to get through. I don't agree with that, because a less than compelling narrative, this is about, as someone I heard put it, this is about pedophile priests.
I said I'd be good.
Yeah.
I said I'd be good. So, but I don't agree with that either. Like, just as a movie standpoint, I think it's like it gets into it like really well.
Yeah.
And when I watched it, I was just like, I just wanted to get like more and more into it. It kept me drawn in for sure.
Yeah. Well, and it also intrigued me a lot because I literally right before we watched this, like 2-3 days before we watched this, I just finished The Keepers on Netflix, which is about the same exact thing.
Oh.
And it's not about the ones in Boston. They're in Baltimore. And it's like one of the nuns tried to stop this from happening, and she got killed. And then they covered that up as well as the abuse.
Huh.
And it was at a Catholic school in Baltimore. That's what The Keepers is about.
I haven't seen it.
So, the critics' consensus, Spotlight gracefully handles the lurid details of its fact-based story while resisting the temptation to lionize its heroes, resulting in a drama that honors the audience as well as its real-life subjects. So, the income. The budget was $20 million. Opening weekend, it made $295,009. And that was a limited release in 5 theaters. Its wide release was $4,408,252, and that was 1,227 theaters. And it was in theaters for 182 days. The domestic gross was $45,055,776. The foreign was $53,219,462 for a worldwide total of $98,275,238.
So it really didn't make like a crazy amount of money, but at least it the number I'm thinking of quadrupled.
Yeah, a little bit over that.
Budget amount.
Yeah, a decent amount, but not a ton.
Yeah. It's not like Infinity War.
So the awards, this won 2 Oscars. And it had 125 other wins with 141 other nominations. So we are going to talk about the big 3, the Oscars, the Golden Globes, and the BAFTA. The Oscars that it won were Best Motion Picture, as well as Best Writing for Original Screenplay. And then the ones it was nominated for was Best Performance by an Actor in a Supporting Role, Mark Ruffalo. Best Performance by an Actress in a Supporting Role, Rachel McAdams. Best Achievement in Directing, Tom McCarthy. Best Achievement in Film Editing, Tom McArdle.
Yeah. I knew this was a Best Picture winner.
Yeah. And it's funny, it beat out our next one, Mad Max Fury Road, because that one was nominated for Best Picture. And this beat it out.
But this one beat it out. Yep, you're right.
And this one didn't get any nominations for Best Actor in a Leading Role because they were all technically supporting roles.
Technically, yeah.
Because nobody had the majority. I don't know what the qualifications are for leading role, but I don't think any of them met it. No. Because Mark Ruffalo was on the screen the most, but still he wasn't even the main person in it. They focused on all of them.
That's true. Even amount of time, screen time.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So for the Golden Globes, it didn't win any of them. It was only nominated, but still. Yeah. So it was nominated for Best Picture Drama. And it was beat out. The Revenant. It was beat out by The Revenant. And then it was also nominated for Best Director for a Motion Picture and Best Screenplay for a Motion Picture. The BAFTA Awards. It won Best Original Screenplay and Best Supporting Actor. and it was nominated for Best Film at the BAFTA Awards. So, initial thoughts?
Well, I knew the backstory behind it, so not gonna lie, this was hard for me to watch.
Yeah.
I will admit that. Because of my background. So I was like, alright, let's do this.
Yeah.
And I watched it. It's really, I really, really liked it. It just, for me, it's just a hard subject matter to watch.
Yeah.
With my background. But I was loved it. I did. It was really good. I didn't even know about half of some of this stuff. So, it taught me some things, which is nice. I like when movies teach me things. Especially, this is based on true facts. So,
yeah.
Yeah. Overall, I really did like it. I really liked, Mark Ruffalo in this, and Michael Keaton. For sure.
Yeah, I think all of the actors did a really good job. I knew what it was about before I watched it. And like I said, I had just got done watching The Keepers off Netflix, which is about pretty much the same thing. So I was already kind of mad at this whole situation, and then I watched this, and I was like, you've got to be fucking kidding me.
I've known about this.
Well, I've known about it for a while, but I just never knew the extent of it, and then this and The Keepers and other stuff I had read previously just, made me even more mad, because I'm just like, how?
Oh, it's disgusting.
Yeah.
I completely agree with you. It's disgusting.
Yeah. But I really liked the movie. They did a really good job portraying it, and they also did a really good job making it about the reporting instead of what they were reporting on.
Yeah, that was the thing I liked about it, because it's a touchy subject matter.
Yeah.
For sure. So, I did like how they focused on the writing.
Yeah.
And what they were reporting.
Yeah. Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. I was planning on watching it at some point, because I had heard about it, and I like Michael Keaton a lot, and I like Mark Ruffalo a lot, so I was planning on watching it. I just hadn't got to it before this, so.
Yeah, well, again, I have a goal to watch pretty much all of the Best Picture winners.
Yeah.
From every year. It's since the beginning of the Oscars. And I have about almost half of them watched. And I was like, I have to watch this. It's a Best Picture winner, so I watched it.
I have about probably 15 of them watched.
Yeah, I have way more than that. But
yeah,
that's my goal, to watch all of them.
So I think we've covered our initial thoughts.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
That was your warning. If you haven't watched the film yet, then come back later after you've watched it. So, we start off the film and it says that this is based on actual events starting 1976, and then of course later on it goes to 2001.
Yeah.
But starting in 1976, we are in Boston.
Yes.
In Police District 11. And these two guys are talking about a case. And we don't really get many details other than it sounds like there's a priest in the police station in one of the interview rooms. And then we see another priest talking to a family.
Yeah. And, of course, religious, so of course they have the rosary beads out.
Yeah.
Praying away.
But we don't really... I mean, if you know what the movie's about, then you kind of know why they're there. But if you're just watching this not knowing what the movie's about, then you're like, why are they there?
I'm just saying, in times of stress, that's what religious people do.
So then we jump to the Boston Globe in 2001.
Yeah.
And there's some big meeting in the newsroom. Something about somebody. I guess the editor or head person of the Globe is leaving or something like that.
Yeah. Retiring.
Yeah. And they're going to have a new guy come in and be their boss.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's fun. We see a lot of like kind of news reporter activity. Like there's people on phones, there's people sitting there writing articles and stuff. And then we see Michael Keaton's character, Robby, or Walter, whichever one you want to call him, because he tends to be called everything under the sun in this movie. I was getting so confused by what his name was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Because they kept calling him something different.
Oh, I know. I remember that too. I'm like, what? I'm like, you know what? Like, Michael Keaton. That's you.
Yeah, there's a couple times in my notes where I like scratch out Walter because then they started calling him Robby, and I was like, I don't want to get the name wrong.
Are you going to say Michael Keaton character?
Yeah. But so he is meeting with the new boss, or what we can pretty much assume the new boss is based on their conversation.
Yeah.
And he's kind of telling him about his team because Robby runs Spotlight, which is an investigative journalist team.
Yeah, it's very small too.
Yeah, I think it's, four of them?
Yeah, like 3 or 4.
And he's saying that the team keeps everything confidential until they're ready to release their story. And it can take them anywhere from a few weeks to write a story and get all the information they need to a few years.
Yeah, depends on the story.
Yeah.
It's like, and this is how it works, and you better be okay with it.
Yep. The new boss's name is Marty.
Yeah.
And he thinks that they can do better than the stories that they've been doing. Like, I guess their latest one was something about police.
Oh. That's easy.
Yeah.
It's true.
I don't know. It's something about police. I didn't quite catch the whole story, but... So then it's the next day, and they're in their morning meeting, and it's where all the editors... Like, because, you know, each team, like, there's sports and media and all kinds of everything... Like, each team has its own editor, and then they submit it to the major editor or something like that.
Yes.
So, all the big editors are in this meeting with the new boss, and they're meeting him. And, they're telling kind of, like, about ideas that they have. And then one of them says something about a column he wants to do, and then Marty's like, well, I want more information about it.
It's about, is it the Catholic priest thing?
Yeah. And that's, like, right after that, Marty tells Robby that he wants spotlight on this story.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good story for him, so yeah.
It is, because it takes a lot of investigative work. Because the church is like a enclosed society. They don't like outsiders that aren't religious coming in and asking them questions.
Yeah.
And so one thing they want to do is they know that there is a case that has happened previously that was settled with the church, and they know that the files are there, but they aren't public. So they're trying to sue the church to make them public.
Yeah.
Which gets out that they're trying to sue the church.
Yeah. That's true. I mean, it looks kind of bad from like an outsider standpoint, trying to sue the Catholic Church. So
yeah. Yeah.
Especially since it's such a big thing.
Yeah, because people aren't going to see, oh, they're suing the church for this. They'll just see they're suing the church.
Yeah, pretty much.
Then we see Sacha. Well, I mean, Robby goes back and tells his team that they're going to investigate this. And then we see Sacha in church with her grandmother. At least it looked like her grandmother. I think she said her grandmother. But then not really much happens there. It's just Sacha looks real uncomfortable in church after she's been assigned this assignment. She's like, I don't know if I want to be here anymore.
I probably would have been the same way. We're like, this is awkward.
If you're assigned to investigating the church and then you go to church, you're like, I don't know if I should be here right now.
You're like, this feels bad.
Yeah. So, Marty, I guess this is either the same day that Sasha's in church or the next day. The timeline's a little bit weird because I think this whole entire movie spans over, like, a year or something like that.
Yeah, I will admit, it's kind of a weird, like, timeline to keep track of everything.
Yeah. But so, Marty, it looks like he's going to the publisher or, like, the owner of the paper or something like that, and telling them that he wants to sue the church. And the publisher is kind of weary about it, but he says okay.
Yeah.
And then we see Mike, which is Mark Ruffalo's character.
Yes.
He's going to see Mitch Walter. At least that's what I thought. Or no, he's going to see Mitch. I wrote that weird, my note. So, Mike is going to see Mitch Garabedian.
Yeah.
Which is played by Stanley Tucci.
Yes.
And he's a lawyer who has worked with victims previously on the cases that the church has already settled. And he's just kind of sitting there for a long time. Like a long time. So Walter and Sasha are going to meet with a man about a case. I don't remember what man they go to meet.
Is it Macklish?
Yeah, I think so. I just wrote meet a man, so that's a very specific
because
note.
they're following up on that case that was settled.
Yeah, because right now they're trying to figure out like what they can about that case that was the cases that were settled. And so everybody's going to different people and figuring it out. When they talk to him, yeah, I think it is that Eric Macklish guy, because that's another lawyer.
Yes.
That he was on the side of the church, and he's like, I can't give you this information.
Technically, yeah.
Yeah. Well, because it's sealed. If it was public, then he could give the information.
Yeah. So that's why they're trying to get him unsealed.
Yep. And then we see Mike. He's, like we said, he's been waiting a long time. So he just kind of sneaks in to go talk to Stanley Tucci's character, Mitch.
Yeah.
And Mitch is saying that he can't say anything. He can't help because he's bound by the law as well. Like, as much as he really wants to, he can't. Because he's there for the victims. He wants to help the victims.
Yes.
Then we see the team looking through past papers back at the Globe office, I think.
Yeah.
From what I remember. And they found a case from 1997. It's a story that they had done about one of the priests molesting a kid, and nobody ever really did more than just a little short piece on it.
Yes.
And we see this as kind of a little trend throughout the movie. They find a few of them that the Globe had already done little stories on, but nobody ever expanded on it or tried to get more information.
Yeah, because they're like, well, it's kind of a touchy thing, especially dealing with that big, I'll say superpower that the Catholic Church is, and so it's always kind of tricky to deal with that because there'll be a lot of backlash. It's probably why, as reporters, they kept it tiny little things, even though it should have been way bigger.
Yeah. So then they are at a baseball game. Like, a few of them are at a baseball game, and there's a few guys that aren't on the story, and then there's a couple guys that are on the story, and the guys that aren't on the story are trying to pry about information. And they're like, we can't give you any information yet. We don't have enough.
Yeah.
And then we see Robby playing golf with Jim. And Jim, it seems like him and Jim are like old friends. But Jim had something to do with the case that was settled with the church. Like he was one of the lawyers or something like that. So Walter's like trying to get the info from him. But that's how a lot of this movie is they're working on getting info.
That's what a lot of it is. And they slowly find more and more and more things. And it just gets, they realize how big it is.
Yeah.
And how much is covered up.
Yeah. And we also see one of the reporters goes to the cardinal, which is like, that's like the head of the church.
So it goes Pope and then cardinals. So this would be
the cardinals are like the head of an area.
Big area. Like cardinal, like the U.S. has, I think, just one cardinal. Other countries have like different cardinals.
Okay, so cardinal law. See, when they were saying cardinal law, I thought they were talking about a legitimate law.
No.
But then I realized, oh, that's a person.
It's the last name, yeah.
Yeah. That was really confusing.
I got you.
For me. Because I didn't know what a cardinal was.
Yeah.
I know what the Pope is. I know what priests are. I didn't know there was a level in between them.
Oh, there's more levels besides that.
Yeah, I don't know all that.
It's okay. You don't have to.
But yeah, there's one of them, Matt. He's one of the reporters, and he goes and talks to Cardinal Law. And the cardinal's not really giving up any information at all. But he gives him this book. And it's like a religious book.
Yeah.
And you're just like, what did you expect? Like, that's exactly what was going to happen.
Yeah.
So that was kind of funny. I did have a question about cardinals, though.
Okay.
Do they all wear those, like, really big crosses that make them look like pimps?
Yeah. And the big ring, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've got jewelry like pimps do.
It's a big ring they usually wear, and then the cross. And they usually have, like, certain garments they wear.
Yeah, because theirs is kind of like the Pope. They've got funky clothes.
It's usually red with cardinals.
Okay.
Usually.
Okay, that's just a question I had, because I don't know anything about church.
You good? I got you.
So then we hear about SNAP, which is something about the people who, when they were children, they were victims of the things that had happened in the church, and they formed a support group, pretty much.
Yes.
And this guy comes in, and he's, like, telling his story. He's, like, the founder of SNAP. And he's got a big box of evidence and says that he sent all this before, but nobody did anything about it. And he's, like, real upset because they're just now doing something about it. And that just goes along with that theme that the Globe has had this information for years and never did anything about it. That's kind of a recurring theme, like we said earlier.
Yeah.
So we see some victim interviews.
Yeah.
Mike and Sasha and Matt all get to start interviewing victims and stuff, and they all kind of have different ones. And it seems like the guys that they're interviewing are trying to sugarcoat it a little bit because they don't want to tell how bad it really was.
Yes.
And then once they do tell how bad it really was, it's pretty bad. Like, they go into some pretty gruesome details about this.
Yeah, that's actually... Psychologically, that's about normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, one of them reveals that he had been to rehab because of drugs.
Yep.
And then the other one was an alcoholic. And somebody, I don't know who it says, but somebody's saying that they're lucky because most of the kids that this had happened to are no longer alive because it just tormented them so much.
A lot of suicides, yeah.
Yeah. They finally get a date for the hearing for them suing the church to release those records. They get a date set, and We don't hear about it for a little while, but they do have the date set. So then Robby says that he wants to expand the investigation off of just this one priest. He wants to go further.
Oh,
because
yeah.
right now they're just investigating just the one priest. But they're like, we can probably find more.
And there is.
Yeah.
There's way more.
Yeah. So, at one point, they're talking to this guy who used to be a priest or something like that. And I know I'm probably skipping a lot, but a lot of this is just investigation, and I don't really know how to explain it.
No, you're good. You're good. It's a lot. That's what a lot of the movie is.
Yeah. It's just a lot of their investigation, and it's hard to explain it all. But there's one point when they're talking to a guy, I think his name is Sipe, and he used to be a priest.
Yes.
But he retired. And he's saying that about 6% of priests act out sexually. And this freaks out the entire Spotlight team, because they're like, 6%. We have like 9 priests that they found, because they've uncovered evidence of like 9 priests at this point.
Yeah.
And so now they're doing the math about how many priests are in Boston, and I think they said like 1,500 are in Boston.
Yeah.
6% of 1,500 is still a lot of people.
That is, crazy.
I think they said 90.
Let's see. Times.
If they did the math, 6% of priests is 90 from 1,500.
From how many?
1,500?
That's 90, yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That is too many.
Especially seeing as how they've only found 9.
Yeah, there's more.
So, they have discovered that in the basement of the Globe, that there are church directories that list all of the locations for churches, all of the priests, all of the nuns, and it like says where they're stationed each year. And they're discovering that it'll say when one of the priests is found to have acted out sexually, as they put it.
Yes.
They send them to kind of like a rehabilitation facility. But they don't market that in their little directory thing. They mark it like sick leave or
emergency response.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they mark it all kinds of different ways. So they decide to work backwards from the directories and see how many they can find that say sick leave or something like that.
Yeah.
And they get 87.
Yeah.
Which is too many.
1 is too many.
Yeah. The number should be 0.
Number should be completely 0.
But we see some other stuff. We see some stories about some clergy and something about some lawyers that the Globe had previously done, but then they say that they just covered it up. Like, they didn't even care. They just covered it all up. The lawyers in the church just did it. They settled it themselves instead of making it a public court thing in front of a public judge. They just settled it themselves so that they could just cover it back up. Eventually, they are able to get the documents that they were looking for uncovered. Like, the judge rules in the Globe's favor instead of in the church's favor.
Yeah.
Which they were shocked about. They were expecting them to rule in the church's favor. And that really provides the evidence they needed to finish the story. But a little bit before that, the lawyer Mitch said he was going to file some sort of motion, and that the documents that they were looking for were going to be attached to that motion, which made them public. But nobody really knew that except for Mike, because Mike had been in contact with Mitch about it. But everything kind of stops because 9/11 happens.
Yeah.
So that puts it on hold for, I think, like 6 weeks or something like that.
I think. That sounds about right.
So, then after that, like, because Mike is sent to somewhere to report on 9/11. And so he's out of Boston. I don't remember where they sent him. I thought it was Florida, but I'm probably wrong. But Mitch says he can't wait for Mike to get back to file that report, so he files it anyway. And so Mike is like booking it to the courthouse to try and get those documents, and he doesn't make it in time, but then he gets there the next morning and is able to get them. And then it's like right after that is when the judge says that he's gonna release the records.
Yeah.
And then that's from those records is how they find out that Cardinal Law knew that this was going on but did nothing about it.
Yep.
And Mike has like this really big fit. And it's a really well-purposed fit. Like, of course he's going to throw this fit. Because he's saying they need to run the story right now. But Robby's like, we aren't quite ready yet. We need a little bit more information. And so he goes to his friend, Jim, I think. Jim Sullivan. I think that's who it was. The guy that was one of the lawyers. Not that McLeish lawyer, but I think he was one of the other lawyers.
Uh-huh.
And he's trying to get him to reveal names of people that they settled with. And Jim's like, no, I'm not going to do it. But he does. In a very roundabout way to where he can't get caught. And Marty gives Spotlight 6 weeks to write their story because they need it to be out. And they get it just in the brink of time, I think. They get their story out. And they were trying to, right before they sent out the story, they were trying to get a comment from Cardinal Law, but they called him and he said that he didn't even want to know what their questions were. So then they let the story out and they put a phone number down at the bottom for people to call and report if they have ever had this happen to them. And so they had some extra people come in to answer the calls to take the information, but instead of the people calling Globe, they called Spotlight specifically.
Yeah.
So it's like a Sunday morning, because I think that's when the Spotlight articles come out, is Sunday morning. And these phones are ringing off the hook. And you just see them just taking all these phone calls, getting all this information from people about, oh, this happened to me, oh, this happened to me. And we don't really hear the stories, but we see that they're writing stuff, we see they're getting information and everything. And then they say that it's almost all victims calling in.
Yeah, it's true.
And then that's the end. And then we see some black screens that are very heartbreaking. It not only shows different cities in America where they've discovered priests doing this, but there's also different cities in different countries, and it's a ton. It's 4 pages worth of cities.
Yeah, it was. I saw that. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah. And I was just that's insane. So we'll go into the music before we do anything else. The music for this was composed and produced by Howard Shore, who got his start on the Hart and Lorne Terrific Hour, which is a TV series. He was the music director for that. He is currently working on the Song of Names, which I'm not quite sure what that is, But that's what he's working on. And he is known for The Lord of the Rings, all 3 in the trilogy. He was the composer for that. The Twilight Saga Eclipse from 2010. He was the composer for that. Hugo from 2011, he composed that. And The Aviator from 2004, he composed that as well. He's won 3 Oscars. 3 of which were for The Lord of the Rings.
Oh, we'll hear him again then.
Yeah, we will get him again. And then the other one, his 4th Oscar was for Hugo, Best Achievement in Music Written for Motion Picture Original Score.
Yeah.
I don't really have much to say about the music in this one. I think the story was just so intense, I wasn't focusing on the music at all.
Same.
Because I just don't even remember the music from this one. But I know it had to be good because this guy did amazing work on the Lord of the Rings trilogy, so...
Maybe it was just so subtle and went so well with it, you couldn't even notice.
That's probably what it was.
I think so. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, because I was just like, the story was so intense that I just didn't even focus on the music. I didn't even notice it. So it's probably just like you said, it just went perfectly with it.
Yeah.
So comparison. I mean, this is a real life event. This really happened. This is a real story. So if you want to know more about it and want to read more about it, the Boston Globe is a website that you can go to and you can find all of the stuff that Spotlight has ever done.
I was like, yeah, isn't that archived on there?
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Trivia. I have one.
Okay, go.
So, you know that little, like, in the globe... Actually, technically I have 2. So,
Okay.
The building that they used for the globe is actually the building they used for the globe. Like, the actual real Boston Globe is where they filmed. They no longer work there. I think the Boston Globe moved.
Yeah.
But, and then, you know that little convenience store thing in the Boston Globe?
Yes.
You can see the back of this woman's head while they're filming in there. And she's the only woman that worked, or she's the only woman in the movie that worked at the Boston Globe. Because it was such a small space and that was like her little thing that she had set up.
Yeah.
So she's the only one that actually worked there that was in the movie. Like all of the rest of them are extras.
Wow. That's crazy. So.
Yeah, you would think they were there. They'd just go right on ahead and use them, but... I mean, I guess real people doing their real job, they'd be real distracted by actors and cameras and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Ugh. This movie. So, got some trivia.
Okay.
So, the new editor-in-chief, of the Boston Globe, the, Martin Barron, right?
Yeah, Marty Barron.
He is Jewish. And so, that's part of the reason why Cardinal Law gave him that book. It's the Catholicism of the Catholic Church, and it just pretty much just tells how everything about how you have to do things in church and mass and all of that stuff. Okay. And the actual copy, it's the actual copy that he really got. They use it in the movie too.
Dang.
Right? That's cool. This one I knew even before I looked up trivia. This is Michael Keaton's second Best Picture Oscar winner, back-to-back.
Nice.
Because it went Birdman and then Spotlight.
Yeah.
It did.
That's cool.
And he didn't have really any breaks between the 2 films.
Oh, yeah.
He was just so impressed with this script, he's like, I have to do this. I have to. Let's see. What else? It was actually during a real baseball game, if you didn't know that.
Yeah, I kind of noticed that they had a lot, they tried really hard to show that it was in Boston.
It was a Red Sox game.
Yeah.
So,
I was listening to something and they were saying that the beer that they're all drinking is a beer specific to Boston. So they tried really hard to make it set in Boston.
Yeah, it started a Reds game. Red Sox and Rays game. So, the Boston Globe actually won a Pulitzer Prize for the Spotlight team on all of this. They won a Pulitzer Prize for it. Pulitzer Prize in public service.
That's awesome.
I'm like, whoa. That's crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good thing they won the Pulitzer Prize for it.
Yeah.
Because that took a lot of work and a lot of guts.
Yeah, it took them like 6 months to do the story.
Exactly. So I'm like, I didn't even know. I was like, oh, Pulitzer Prize?
Yeah.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's about all I want to talk about. Trivia-wise. Because I said I would be good today.
Yeah. That's why you stopped. That's why you didn't really talk as much, because it's harder for you to keep it subjective, seeing as how this is your religion we're talking about.
Yep. I said I'd be good. So I'm being good. Trying my best to. Zip.
So where it has been on the list before and where it is at today, it's only been on 2 other lists because it just came out in 2015. So it was on the 2016 list at number 192, and then it was on the 2018 list at number 210, and then as of today when we are recording, it is number 212. So it's just kind of sticking right around the same spot.
Yeah.
Because when we picked it, it was 206. So it's just kind of hovering in the same, like, little 30 number area. But I think the more this topic is brought to light, the more people are going to watch this movie. So it might move either up or down depending on how people feel about it.
It's true.
But there's that. So, previously, number 206, the 2010 list, The Exorcist from 1973, which I'm actually kind of surprised is not on our list that I remember. I don't think it is.
I don't think so. Let me look.
It was also the 2012 list, number 206. The 2014 list was Jaws from 1975. The 2016 list is Persona from 1966. The 2018 list is Before Sunrise from 1995, which we previously watched.
Gross.
Like 3 weeks ago, something like that. And as of today, when we are recording, number 206 is Rush from 2013, which is coming up in probably about 2 months. 2-3 months, I think.
Rush. Yeah.
It's got Thor in it.
Yes. Took me a second. I was like, what number is it? It's 197.
Yeah, we go from the Hulk to the Thor.
Well, I mean, let me see if there's... Yeah.
I don't think there's...
I was thinking of any other characters in there that I can use. No. Darn.
Not in between there, no.
Nope. Darn.
So, favorite line.
I got a couple. I will admit, I got a couple. So, first one. It's dark, but I'll do it. If it takes a village to raise a child, it takes a village to abuse one.
I wrote that one down, too.
That's an amazing line and utterly true.
Yeah.
What was the other one I liked?
Especially for the topic we're talking about.
There's my other one. They say it's just physical abuse, but it's more than that. This was spiritual abuse. You know why I went along with everything? Because priests are supposed to be the good guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those two.
I think I have 1, 2... I have 2 besides that one that you had as well.
Okay.
He's one of the lucky ones. He's still alive. Talking about the victim. And then, I think we should start ignoring everyone on this one. But I think my favorite is, if it takes a village to raise a child, it takes a village to abuse one.
I would agree. I would.
Okay. What is your rating?
I am giving this a solid 8. I am. Solid 8.
Okay.
Even though this was really tough for me to watch, because of my background and everything, it was really good storytelling.
Yeah.
Spot on. It was. It kind of like shoved things in my face that I didn't want to get shoved in my face, but I appreciated it. I did.
Yeah.
I did.
I'm giving it a 9. Literally the only reason I can't give it a 10 is because there was some times when the timeline was really confusing. And then, but like pretty much the reasons I'm giving it a 9 is because it's really good storytelling. Yeah, it was a really hard topic to watch, but it also opens your eyes. Because like if you don't know what's going on in the world, then you're just a shut-in. But if you don't know the extent of what is happening with the Catholic Church and like what's going on with this part of it, this is like a big eye-opener for you. They do a really good way of portraying it without giving you too many gruesome details.
Yeah, that's true.
I loved the acting in it. I liked the fact that all of these actors went and spent time with the people that they were trying to portray.
Yeah, I agree. That really helped it.
I think it was actually, I don't think it was ever slow except for the beginning when I was like, okay, are you gonna get to the story or are we just gonna sit here and talk about maybe getting to the story? Like, that's the only time I really thought it was slow. But once they, like, start investigating, you're just, like, hooked in. But that first 20 minutes or so, it's a bit slow.
Yeah. I did also like that there's a Broadway person in there.
Oh, is there?
Yeah. The guy that plays Matt.
Oh, okay.
Brian... I can't say his middle name. So, Brian James. He is a big Broadway star. He did Shrek the musical. He did Something Rotten. He's done all kinds of other ones. He was the original King George in Hamilton, but he got busy, and so he had to give it up to Jonathan Groff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. True story there. So I was like, yay, musical person.
Yeah.
That helps.
Yeah, I think that's all I've got for, like, my reasons and stuff. I just think it was really good. It was a crime drama, and that's something that I love to watch, so
that's true.
This is, like, right up my alley.
Oh, it's completely up your alley.
It's just like Prisoners is just right up my alley, so.
And I said, you're gonna love Memories of Murder.
Yeah, we're getting there.
But I'm also excited for our next one coming up.
Mad Max?
Mad Max Fury Road from the same year.
Yeah. Yep.
2015.
Yep, that one is gonna be good. I've actually seen it. It's good. It's interesting, but it's good.
I was like, I like it too. I do.
It's good. Yeah. So we do have an event coming up. It will be out next week. It is our Disney event. And the 2 movies that I picked were Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl, and Wreck-It Ralph 2, Ralph Breaks the Internet.
And I picked Aladdin and Princess and the Frog.
And the order we're going to be doing that one in is oldest to newest. So, just FYI for all of you listeners. We kind of try to change up the order every time.
Try.
So we are offering premium. If you'd like to become a premium member, you will get uncut episodes, early release episodes, and special monthly episode every month for just $1. If you want to become a $5 a month member, you will get all of that, as well as you will be able to pick a movie of your choice every 50 movies to join us. So that is going from Memories of Murder on, because The Truman Show, we're going ahead and cutting that off for the first 50. So from this point on, you'll get 4. And then our special episode for the month of April for premium members is going to be, we are going to do a little bit of research about Steven Spielberg and Michael Keaton, and just going to give you some insight into them and how they got started and where they're at, like what they're doing, all that fun stuff.
Oh, yeah. Like, I'm excited to do Keaton.
Yeah. If you could leave us a rating and review, let us know how we're doing, let us know what you like, what you don't like, if there's anything we need to change, or if you could share the show with your friends. Do both, actually, that'd be great.
Completely. We want more listeners.
Yes, please. And also, if you want to get into contact with us, we are everywhere. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We have an email. You can check out our website. All that fun stuff.
Yeah.
And our music is by Audio Binger, and you can find him on Facebook, YouTube, and he has a website, audiobinger.net. And I think that's all we've got for Spotlight.
Yeah, I think so.
So we will catch you next week with our Disney event.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.